With just one tank in the game, learning how to play against the other is a super useful skill, and you can often find yourself facing the same tank. Not every tank matchup is obvious, so here are the ultimate tips to beat the enemy tank in the mirror. For more tips and guides, make sure to check out the link in the description for a GameLeap membership. I've personally recently made guides for Jungle Queen and Winston to help you improve and apply new knowledge to your ranked games, along with tons of courses from other experts and coaches across all roles. Make sure to check it out and enjoy the video. Diva. Most Diva players blink their defense matrix a lot, but against the enemy Diva, you're in an even matchup, where you both do an insane amount of damage to each other. So if you have reliable healing, just blast her head hitbox and only matrix when she tries to use her micro missiles on you. Trading damage with the enemy tank is really important, especially early on in the game, because you need to build your self-destruct up fast, to always have a get out of jail free card when you finally lose your mech. And against an enemy Diva, you don't need to focus on matrixing all of her damage, since you yourself are also looking to build that ultimate as fast as possible. If you're close to the enemy Diva in the duel, you can also melee her while she's matrixing to get more damage in, since you're both usually close range anyway. But the real critical thing is to react to those micro missiles, since you can easily eat them all up. If the enemy Diva tries to go for an aggressive bomb, you can fly in and burst her quickly, using the end of your flight to fall back a little bit. And even if you don't always get the kill, it's always worth it to punish an over-aggressive play, and even trade a tank in case the bomb hits your allies. Doomfist. The Doom matchup has a lot of blocking and parrying, and the real important interaction you need to always consider is that the block can be cancelled by the punch. If you have to block, always get ready to only use it to block 1 or 2 shots, and then resume shooting yourself, ready to either dodge the punch or counter with your own. In your block, you can also strafe one way, then cancel it and strafe in the other for a quick dodge, which is really difficult to react to. Because your block makes you slower, cancelling it will change your speed drastically, making it really hard to aim at. Both Dooms can cancel each other's punches too, so rely more on minimum charge punches and look for headshots and melees to chip away at the enemy Doom's health bar. Not only do minimum charge punches ensure that you get the stun off in the following shot, but quickly punching will also mean you get the punch back earlier than if you held it for longer, since the cooldown starts after you let go of the punch. For the ultimate, you can always land on the enemy Doom, which makes it really difficult to react to, but make sure to not ult immediately after the enemy Doomfist. It's pretty obvious to see what you're planning if you pop it reactively as soon as you see the other Doom lift to the skies. Junker Queen. The knife pull is the most important thing in the matchup, since both queens need to use cover to not have their shout forced defensively. Focus on dodging the knife and hitting your own to pull out the queen, but don't go too aggressively since most queens will react with a carnage slash when they're pulled in to try to get their health back. If you dodge it completely, you'll save yourself some damage, all while shooting her head for a crazy good advantage, and you'll still have your shout ready to chase if she tries to kite back after the pull. The shotgun is the second most important thing in the matchup. Because a lot of players go for their slash, managing to dodge it and focusing on headshots will actually give you more of an advantage. Hitting one full damage headshot will more than negate the value of the slash, so save the slash for a more important moment for yourself. When both teams have rampage, the first queen to hit the other with the anti-heal has a massive advantage, since she won't get any healing for most of her ultimate if she tries to use it. So don't be afraid to use it early against teams with no Kiriko, forcing a reaction and stopping the other queen from retaliating successfully with her ultimate. Orisa. Damage is also really important to get the better of the enemy Orisa. Focus on her massive head hitbox every time you see her. You can use the heat mechanic of your gun to determine when you need to get back into cover to avoid damage yourself. Hitting your spear against the enemy Orisa is not only easy because of her big hitbox but also effective, pushing her back to hit even more shots for both you and your team. And you can easily hit it by timing it after the enemy Orisa's spin ends, giving her no chance to block it unless she uses her Fortify, blowing her 2 defensive cooldowns in one go. You can also use your own spin to block the spear if you see it coming, then quickly cancelling it to keep firing, using it as a quick parry since a good Orisa won't miss the shot. Using your spin like this won't affect your survivability for the rest of the fight unless you're expecting an amplification matrix or a captive sun. If an Orisa is spinning into you, you can also use your own spin to counter and keep her at bay, since it's likely she's looking to go for her ultimate or make space for someone else to push. And against her ultimate, if you have enough health and living healers behind you, you can use your Terra Surge second to blast her with 500 damage as soon as she comes out of her ultimate, since you'll take 300 damage in your ultimate Fortify form. And if you want to play it safe, always make sure to have your spin to escape the Terra Surge, since she won't be able to reach the 150% damage ramp up to any hero with any speed boost running away from the center of her ultimate. Ramatra. Managing your form is really important. Not only do you want to use your form second, so you can punch through the enemy Ram's shield when he exits his form and tries to stay alive, but your staff damage is actually almost as much as the punch damage if you hit every shot. And against the massive Nemesis form, you'll have to try not to hit your shots, since he's so big. So don't always immediately react with your own form unless you're trying to kill the targets behind it. Hitting headshots with your staff beam will also deal more damage than the maximum punch DPS, so trust your staff a bit more. Because your form gives you extra armor in the block, you can also use your shield to block healing instead of just allowing you to get extra poke off and stay more alive. So place it behind the enemy Ramatra to force him backwards or make him really killable. For your ultimate, you need to be really cautious of letting the enemy Ram run loose. So look to kite backwards, then use your shield to block off the line of sight to let his ultimate slowly decay, using your shield later rather than sooner. Your slow is also great for not letting him get too out of hand, especially if you place it between your team and him, so he has to pass through it to keep fighting. Reinhardt. The ultimate Crusader battle has a lot of nuance, and not just with the shatter. Reinhardt is sometimes the best hero to deal damage to another Reinhardt, so use corners and pre-aim your swings when he tries to push, using your 5-strike on him and the team behind him when he gets further away. When you can safely charge the enemy Rein, you should always go for it, since it will either knock him down for your team to kill or pin him for a great advantage in the damage duel. For the shatter matchup, which is an insane one, don't be afraid of holding your shield for a long time, since it's very easy to randomly get shattered when you try to walk up without your shield to take more space faster. You can block so many shatters by just walking up with your shield. And if the enemy Ryan tries to jump past you to shatter, don't just walk straight backwards, but tilt your shield at an angle and sidestep him so you can dodge the center of his slam and still block the shatter for your team. Baiting the enemy Ryan with your pin is also underrated, since it's only been possible since the start of Overwatch 2. So if you have the space to do so, be flexible and unpredictable. And sometimes you can just pin past him and shatter his team. Part of the Ryan matchup is knowing when you can just ignore him and run riot on the more killable targets. Roadhog. We don't know what Roadhog's rework is going to look like just yet, but you'll always want to pressure the Roadhog before hooking him, unless you can hook him behind your team. Use corners to hook and pull the enemy Roadhog to your side to completely mess him up. The hook is best used for repositioning now, rather than instantly one-shotting your target, but against other Roadhogs, you can consistently get 300 damage in the head, so you can still look for one-shots once you get him low enough. On the receiving end, make sure to respect the damage, keeping your heal until after he's used his hook. Making sure you get your whole healing off is doubly important now, since the boost heal effect only activates when you successfully complete your heal, making it way easier to keep you alive for your supports. A boost healed Roadhog is literally so difficult to kill, he might just be meta if the reworks fix him up good. Sigma. Just like with Reinhardt, the Sigma matchup is a good one, and it takes a lot of steps to fully master it. But the best way to play him, aiming to hit your rock and block the enemies, is to focus mostly on backwards and forward movement, pushing confidently past the enemy Sigma shield and holding your own ready to fall back and block the enemy accretion. Until the fluxes come online, you can feel comfortable getting aggressive and doing as much damage to the enemy Sigma as possible. Hitting your shots is just still one of the best ways to pressure the enemy tank, especially in this matchup. Using your grasp also has a lot to do with the enemy Sigma's rock cooldown, and it's also really easy to dodge it if you have enough distance between the two of you. Hitting the rock on a Sigma at mid-range or longer is a 50-50 split. Sometimes you'll want to move away from cover, and sometimes you want to run straight for cover, depending on how good the enemy Sigma is. Get creative with your movement, but never stop being super aggressive, since pushing your shield forward and walking up on the enemy Sigma is always a good move, especially for your team behind you. Blinking your shield to block some of his shots is also good to keep your health high and keep his low, since it's best to peek aggressively to hit your shots with your shield, then withdraw it quickly at the same time as you fall back off the aggressive peek. The final tip is to play on corners at the timing of the enemy Sigma. When he shoots, you hide, then peek and fire when he's recharging his next two shots. If you do this well, he'll be missing every shot while you'll be hitting every one of yours, forcing him back and giving you more control over the game and the map. Winston. The Winston matchup is definitely the most independent one. Both Winstons go as hard as they can on the enemy backline and mostly ignore each other, but on more brawly maps or even parts of a map, you can look to use your bubble to cut off his healing, which is especially effective when he's playing slow and looking for an engage. It's best to look at what kind of jump he's made first. If it's a deep, super aggressive one with other people, unless you can kill the divers he's with, like Genji, it's definitely better to go kill his supports instead. But if he's just fighting on payload for example, and doesn't have his jump, a well-placed bubble will either lead to him instantly dying or having to fall back, allowing you to chase aggressively and push his whole team back with him, building ultimates at the same time. Wrecking Ball. Just like with Winston, most Wrecking Balls should ignore each other and focus on getting on the backline, but when you can look to boop the enemy ball further in, then prepare for his escape route and slam the area preemptively to knock him up when he passes through it. Otherwise, he's also a good target to build your ultimate, but use your roll to quickly get back to cover out of your shoot form to always have the damage advantage, shooting first, and when he tries to fire back, ducking into cover with your ball form speed. Your slam can also easily clear minefields, so when you know the enemy ball is going to go for it, you can play more defensively, and likewise for your own ultimate, keep track of where the enemy ball is, and you don't even have to wait until he uses his slam, just get ready to boop him if he tries to get close to look for a slam to clear them all. And finally, Zarya. Zarya matchups are really skill based, but the first thing you have to do is get energy. Getting energy is the most important thing because without it, you'll always be on the back foot. In a Zarya mirror, get energy and then focus down the Zarya. Most of the time, if you're faced with a frontlining Zarya, you can't really focus anyone else, since her health bar and abilities will be fully charged, ready to punish you if you try to run past her. So build up your energy and laser her down, careful not to charge her bubbles if you don't want to commit. But if she only has one bubble left, definitely shoot right through it. Since your reload is so long, you want to use all of that damage to kill her as fast as possible along with your team. Bubble gives Zarya charge, but a dead Zarya has no charge at all. Thanks for watching. Tank matchups are really important, so let me know what kind of ways you use in your games in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.